Christmas Gem and Power Card Spirit. During the holiday season, the Cartoon Network stars old and new all come together to celebrate Christmas in cabins in the mountains. Nearly half of the 25 cabins are huge, with one of them including the stars hosting the activities, with their fan bases participating in them. Crafting Christmas ornaments with the Craig of the Creek stars, creating gingerbread houses with the Adventure Time stars helping out, and in the outdoors mountains before sundown, the We Bear Bears take the children up on the hill with the Teen Titans handing them multiple design sleds with their favorite characters from those shows. And if sliding down wasn't enough, the likes of secondary characters who had the ability to fly in those shows flew down just in the same velocity as the children in the sleds, giving them the Christmas experience by joining them down the hill with Christmas trees along the way. It was a weekly event just when Christmas comes around the corner, and it gets better with each passing year. More stars with ideas of their own adding more to the celebration of the happiest time of the year. But when it came to two shows who never had any Christmas holiday in their shows, it gave their fan bases more disappointment, knowing that their shows came to an end. They would never get their Christmas special they ever wanted, similar to Adventure Time and regular show. But after all the years doing what they have in the cabins year after year, it was a matter of time until it all changed for the better. A group of kids, youths and teens, have been registered to be the first to witness the latest edition of Cartoon Network's Christmas Spectacular. After hours spent in the cabins, it was time for them to head to one of the biggest cabins where the two shows are active. With the doors pushed open, allowing people inside, they noticed tons of Christmas curtains covering every single bit of the cabin inside, with security guards preventing anyone from peeking through. The hallway to the living room was narrowed due to the majority of it being off limits, as when Cartoon Network had made the surprise a major secret compared to the other advertisements they did. Inside the living room in the back, chairs were set up, enough for every visitor to sit in until the presentation began. The Christmas trees, wreaths, and the huge windows for a view of the hills and mountains. In just a matter of time, everyone was sitting down in their chairs while the presentation itself began. The lights turned down while spotlights shone onto the stage. Then one of Steven Universe's popular characters, Peridot, came out from the left side, while one of the villains of OKKO Let's Be Heroes, Shannon, appeared from the right side. Merry Christmas, everybody! Peridot cheered with her microphone while the fans applaud. Alright, no need for your deceitful approval, Shannon smirked. Let's just get this show on the road. Now, we shouldn't cause a fight at the happiest time of the year. Why would we? Because we're villains. Duh. Yeah, one redeemed ex-villain and one over-arrogant Team Rocket reject. The crowd laughed at Peridot's sense of humor while Shannon slightly groaned. Anyway, we're all happy that you're all here for what we have in store. For years, we showcase our love of Christmas from decorating huge Christmas trees, making gingerbread replica houses from our shows, and of course, doing charity and donations for all of you. Peridot admires the kids, male and female. For nice and naughty purposes, that is, Shannon smirked, but in character at the same time. So, after years of planning, it all ends today. Then, one of Steven Universe's main stars, Amethyst, came out from the back. Soon the fans cheer from the presence of one of the main gems as Amethyst heads upstage while Peridot hands her a spare microphone. What's up, holiday dudes? She cheered while the crowd cheered back. You would never believe how hard it was to plan everything out from the ground up, especially when we had creative differences that made the process much harder than it needed to be, Shannon commented. However, when this year started, We finally made agreements. Peridot then showed the poster to the audience as Amethyst presented the title itself. Gem and Power Card Year. The poster itself shows the stars of both shows in their Christmas sweaters, while the Christmas trees behind them have gem ornaments and power cards attached to them. While the crowd was impressed with the poster, Amethyst continued her speech. We came up with this title just last month during Thanksgiving, and let me tell you, the moment Rad came up with that idea, we all loved it. I would have preferred something devious after the many ideas Lord Boxman came up with, but we wouldn't be invited during Thanksgiving, Shannon taunted. For obvious reasons, Peridot raised an eyebrow. We never had Thanksgiving as robots, you know. Yeah, but good robots don't put bombs inside turkeys. Okay, the less said about that, the better. Amethyst breaks up the two. Thanksgiving was last month. Let's not revisit the whole Victor and Valentino debacle. Is that why the stars from that show smelled like turkey meat last month? One teen boy wondered. Yes, but it wasn't my intended target, Shannon retorted. Okay, Shannon, I think it's time for you and Peridot to get out of here. Amethyst led Shannon the way from where she came out, all the while taking the microphone from her and so from Peridot. We rather have two other people to fill in on what's behind those curtains. As both Peridot and Shannon head straight to the back from where they came from, two more stars appear. Paul from Steven Universe and Rad from OKKO head up the stage while receiving the microphones from Amethyst. Christmas just keeps getting better and better, huh dudes? Rad smiled. Whenever we say that, it's unusually an exaggeration, but this year, we will never regret saying that when we continue to make more additions here, Paul said, eager to show the surprise. The projector screen was being lowered down while Rad turned the projector on with the remote. Ever since school began, we made so many adjustments. We had to move so many heavy things up and down stairs. It was a stressful time over the following weeks, but it turned out much better than we planned. Soon the projector lit up with the first photo revealing the Power Card Gem customization. This is only Christmas exclusive if you really want the banners themselves holiday themed, Rad replied. With a customized vending machine that people wanted during Halloween, you wouldn't believe how technology requires gem hardware. Paul added that Peridot appeared again. From yours truly, which was the hardest to work with day and night. Peridot, leave, Amethyst called to her, to which Peridot left again. Anyway, now you can take a picture while wearing one of your Christmas outfits as your power card. Rad pressed another button on the remote, showing an image of a teen in a sweater with a power card itself decorated Christmas themed. And if you think that's enough, you can also take a picture with one of your favorite characters, not just from both of our shows. Paul finished as Rad pressed the button again, revealing Unica from We Baby Bells in the next power card with the same teen. Granted, it's gonna cost you extra, but it's still worth it. The audience became impressed with the chance to take photos with their favorite cartoon characters. They hoped this was bound to happen when this year started and it would be ready when Halloween came around, but they never imagined how painful it was to make the power card machine work properly and move it into place. As Rad turned to the next page from the projector, it showed the Christmas shop from the upper floor, which includes Bismuth and Mr. Gar side by side. Now sure, we have like 3 Christmas shops here, but I promise you, once you go upstairs, you'll never want to leave again, Rad smiled. Until you get sick of the shopping, that is, Paul said. Anyway, there's a mini bake sale with laws in charge. With head-shaped cookies of ourselves. Rad turned to the next page of Steven Universe and OKKO characters as head-shaped cookies. Believe us, it was hard to convince the head of creative to allow that. It had absolutely nothing to do with favoritism, let me tell you. Is that why we never had those from the other shows before? A young girl wondered. They don't like the idea back then. You know how low the bar is when it comes to the head-shaped cookies of cartoon characters, compared to action figures, Amethyst replied. Anyway, back to the Christmas shop. Paul smiled as the page turned from the projector. We have gem-shaped ornaments in box sets, character figurines for you to set up in your house or anywhere else, Rad added. And when it comes to costumes, we have a lot of different designs with both shows' specialties. As Rad pressed the button from the remote, people in the photos were wearing Christmas outfits of the diamond's colors. Children in the next photo had Christmas mittens with onion and Flink's face of different expressions on it. And finally, Christmas sweaters of logos of all the characters from both shows attached from the front and back. There are a lot of them. Instead of this shirt, just you wait when you head upstairs. By showing the bits of the shop itself, the crowd are eager to spend the money on the merch, sweats, and decorations they can put outside of their houses, and the Christmas trees inside. Now there is one more thing to show before we open the shop for realsies. As Rad pressed the button to the projector, the two main stars, Steven and KO, themselves with Christmas keys in their hands. Not only that, a child in the middle has a key of his own with the same design. You have no idea how hard it was to get the right tools to make our own Christmas keys, Paul commented. Which is why we're having another one of our friends come on stage to explain it, Rad smiled. Garnet, come on out here, Amethyst called out when she came out the door. The crowd cheered from the appearance of Garnet. All she did was smile from the approval from her fans, happy that things haven't changed in nearly 3 years since Steven Universe's future came to an end. Upon heading up the stage, Paul handed Garnet her microphone as she stood in front of the crowd. Me and Steven came up with that idea since the day Christmas came last year, Garnet smiled. Over the course of this year, it took a lot of time to find the right tools for creating keys. If you thought making lightsabers at Galaxy Edge was complicated, this will put that to shame. She's not lying, Rad commented. If any of you saw a Santa magic key once in your lives, raise your hand. Only a few people raised their hands, especially since they never had those keys due to high prices elsewhere. Bismuth made several of the models from the top of the keys, nearly all the characters' heads with the names inserted in the front of magic keys. She noticed a long girl raising his hand as she pointed at him. Is that a real name on Santa's hat? He asked. Yes, Steven and KO would do the honors of adding your name on your personalized, customizable Christmas key. The crowd found the idea of designing their own key a huge opportunity to show the passion for both passionate cartoons. The price of one key is only $100, but trust me, one key will unlock what's really important. It'll help us remember you if you ever come back. After speaking her final words, she gave the microphone back to Paul as Rad turned the projector off. With that being said, Paul smiled, this presentation is over. It's time to finally open Gem and Power Card Yule. Rad smiled as all the curtains in the cabin opened thanks to the security. Everyone can literally see nearly everything on the lower floor, eager to begin shopping once they head to the upper floor. In short order, every shop is filled with customers getting decorations, desserts, and power cards with their favorite characters. The main stars are everywhere, upstairs, downstairs. It was a blast when it finally happened. Even if it's only for the Christmas season, it would be an amazing 25 days from now on. In the main hallway of the cabin, Lapis and Enid just finished taking the pictures with teenage girls as Enid ate gingerbread figures of herself. Walking overnight may have been a pain throughout this year, but at least the cabin's finally open, Enid replied. Granted, I still have to fly down with the sledders outside, but it's a breath of fresh air to be indoors for once, Lapis smiled. Hey girls, Carol walked up to them with a box of ornaments in her arms. When will Steven and my son arrive? They should have made the performance at the presentation. Well, we were gonna do that, but Ko helped the kids with her gingerbread house while Steven's fixing the light from the Christmas trees outside, Enid answered. In fact, when they declined, they wanted to have their own Christmas moment in their own way in this cabin, Lapis replied. Carol thought that the Santa Magic Key presentation would be enough to make a good finale before the shops open, but her son never told her what he wanted when this day came. You do realize that the Santa Magic Key section isn't going to be available without them, right? Don't worry. They'll be back as soon as possible, Enid replied, eating her gingerbread. The store just opened, though there will be at least 3 customers who'll be willing to pay $100 for a Santa Magic Key. That is, if there are famous customers, Lapis commented. In the upper floor of Gem and Palgardier, nearly 15 people searched the merchandise of many shirts and pajamas Cartoon Network had been working on with the fashion brands. Laws is in charge of the bakery, all the while Bildo hands out paper plates for people who want to eat in the cabin. Alright, Mr. Guard called out, carrying a box of Christmas snow globes. So far, I've got a complaint that Steven and Ko aren't here yet. Yeah, but you need to understand there are 24 cabins here, Laws replied, placing some cookies in the bag. We may have used this cabin before, just without this whole store idea. Just saying, it's only a matter of time until more people are aware of the main star's absence. We have 24 more days. Today is just the first day. It's just the 1st of December, and I doubt people would really want to meet their favorite main characters on the second day after opening day, Bildo commented. With everything turning out better than expected, the customers completely forgot about Steven and Ko's absence. But as long as the other stars keep them company, it'll buy time unless it gets worse. Once I'll place these globes on the shelves, I'll call Steven, Mr. Gar said. After a few minutes, Mr. Gar heads downstairs, taking out his phone while looking out the window. Meanwhile, Bismuth came out with the sealed Christmas Santa Magic Key boxes in the cart. She walked up to Peridot, who's been handing out shining ornaments to raise more money. Hey Peridot, are you sure of this whole Santa Magic Key idea? She asked. What do I know? I haven't seen Steven nor Ko all day, Peridot replied. Well, I'm not gonna let these go to waste. Then Spinel came in from the front entrance with a young girl with 2 of her parents. I trust you, you 2 wonderful guardians. Your daughter will love it here, she smiled. But she's never been a fan of either show, her father said. Don't you think you would rather have her enjoy what she watches the most involving Cartoon Network shows? Her mother asked. Spinel then looked down at the young girl, who felt confused rather than excited. You said I would take a picture with Sparkle Cadet. You will. I'll make sure she'll come over as soon as she can, Spinel said, hugging the young girl. In the meantime, check around in the gym and Palgardier. She then stretched her neck to the 2 parents. At least have her give this place a chance. If you don't stretch like that, we'll give it 10 minutes, her mother said, backing away slightly. When the 2 parents looked around with their daughter, Spinel walked up to Bismuth and Peridot. Was that really a good idea to have a non-fan being taken to a cabin she's not interested in? Bismuth asked. You never know if she enjoys it here. Her friends might be non-friends, Spinell smiled. If one of them watches the first episodes and they're not invested, then they're not gonna be fans, Peridot replied, especially when the main stars aren't here. Spinell did what she could to spread more holiday cheer after her 3 years here, but witnessing 0 Christmas moments in the cabin, she's not gonna pass by her chances of missing it. Spinell, as much as we're happy you're making contributions, Steven and KO will please a lot of people if they arrive. Bismuth commented, so far everyone seems to be enjoying themselves. You two know this celebration for experience. You made moments that were unforgettable. I want to do something like that. A 14-year-old girl just came downstairs after looking through the shop upstairs. She is one of the fans who got into Steven Universe after it came to an end. She didn't get the chance to go to any of the conventions when the show was at its prime. She may enjoy the best moments. It didn't change the fact she didn't meet any of the stars when she got the chance. Excuse me, she turned to Mr. Gall, who's still on the phone. Do you know where Steven and KO are at? I'm working on that, Mr. Gall replied, but it's gonna take a while. After receiving the answer, the girl sat next to the nearest bench in the cabin. Nobody was sitting there with their attention towards the necessities of the shop. She found all of those goods, but nothing compares to meeting the main stars face to face. If you really want an unforgettable moment, the unexpected has to happen, Peridot commented. That's impossible, Spinell lowered her head. Just when she headed straight to the vending machines, her attention was glued to the girl sitting all alone. She acknowledged all the customers all around her spending the money, but not a single one felt down, especially during Christmas. She decided to sit down with her, much to the teenager's surprise. Spinell, the girl lifted her head up. Something wrong? She wrapped her arm around the teen. Just wish Steven and KO were here, she answered. Yeah, there were a few complaints lately, but there's nothing we can do right now. The teenager rolled her eyes, as if it wasn't any more obvious ever since the presentation started. They're either doing a huge surprise or really late. Spinell had met her friends in conventions before, especially with mentor people, but for normal people, sitting all alone with no friends is rare to come across. Can you answer me just one question? Sure. When did you become a fan of both shows? With a question she answered to one of her classmates back at school, she took a deep breath while being honest. I came over to my friend's house and Steven Universe the movie was airing. Spinell was stunned, knowing she made her debut in the most participated films of Cartoon Network. What was the first scene you saw? Other friends. Spinell was even more excited considering it was her first appearance. Really? You didn't watch the first 10 minutes? I was doing my homework assignment. It was far more important. Oh, that explains a lot. As Spinell kept her excitement to herself, she continued the subject. What do you think of me? A great character, just upset you're only used in 2 episodes in future. It was a crazy production cycle. We'll be here forever if I told you everything. You don't have to. I read the articles. As she placed her hands on her knees, she lowered her head again. In case you don't know this, I'm not a fan of OKKO. It just didn't catch my interest or attention. Spinell wanted to help out the cast of OKKO when it came to non-fans, just like the child she took in with her parents. You never know. I mean, the animation is creative and it's hilarious with all the zany moments. Zany just isn't my thing. Then what's your thing for a show like OKKO? Probably expecting the main characters to be not similar to Steven. The question really got to Spinell, even if it had nothing to do with her character. Look, I know there are a lot of people upset with Infinity Train's cancellation, but if it had anything to do with grown characters in later seasons, it wasn't, she retorted. But the thing is, children are still related to child characters. Granted, there were older characters in the spotlight, but still. The team remembered watching the Adventure Time regular show and The Amazing World of Gumball with one of them having adult characters, but she felt uninvested with later entries with the character ages being longer. About what you said about Infinity Train, to me, it was a breath of fresh air, and in OKKO, I just don't think it's a show for me to enjoy. I prefer shows with a meaningful setting. The Gem took the words in consideration, however she knows what a show is other than being meaningful. If only the teen knew about it soon, KO would have given her a massive welcome for the first time. Mr. Gar, after putting his phone away, just saw Steven and KO in the middle of the streets, making their way to their cabin. Mr. Gar took notice as he took out his air horn. He stood in the middle while pressing the air horn for a solid 15 seconds. Everyone, including the cast, turned their attention to Mr. Gar as he turned off his air horn. Steven and KO are arriving in just a minute. Let's give them a huge holiday welcome, Mr. Gar called as he waited for the door to be open. Everyone is thrilled to the max, but they all listen to Mr. Gar's call. The cast of both shows came out of the working stations to look at the front door of the cabin, but as for Spinell, she may get the opportunity coming her way if the teen herself works out for her. The doorknob began to turn as the door was being pushed open as Steven and KO stepped foot in the cabin out in the open. Merry Christmas, Steven and KO, everyone shouted. Merry Christmas, everyone! Both Steven and KO cheered with Santa outfits on. People were cheering, including the cast, happy that they arrived before it was too late. Sorry we were late, Steven closes the door behind him. Christmas errands got in the way after we read the emails. The kids really wanted me to make their gingerbread houses badly, KO commented. Well, at least you two finally arrived, Bismuth said, walking up to them. Especially since we can have fans make the Santa magic keys with you. Put them in the room where we're working, Steven smiled. We'll work on it as soon as we find a customer. As Bismuth headed straight to the room, Steven and KO met with her friends after spending time apart. The teen herself has the chance to meet Steven for the first time in her life, but before she stands up, Spinell stops her. You want me to help you out? Spinell whispered to her ear. Do you have $100 for the Santa magic key? Yes, I do, she replied. Let me take care of it. Spinell gets up as she heads to Steven and KO. She stretched her arms, wrapping around Steven and KO's bodies for a hug, much to their surprise. Happy holidays, my best friends. Hi, Spinell, Steven smiled. How's the place going? Perfect. She placed the two down. Can't wait to make the Santa magic key with anyone, really, KO replied. Good, because there's a teen who wants to meet one of you. Steven and KO and their friends became a bit confused from the way Spinell worded it. Wait, you're telling us that he or she is a fan of one show but not both? Paul wondered. Pretty much. Steven and KO thought about doing the Santa magic key alone if the truth's legit, but it's also a chance to give false impressions for that someone. "Who's that customer?" Spinell pointed at the teenager still sitting on the bench alone. With the stars turning their attention to her, the teen took notice with the stars of Steven Universe staring at her, but also stars of OKKO, the show she knows the least. After paying the $100, Steven and KO took the first customer in the Santa Magic Key Room locked on the lower floor of the cabin with a view of the mountains. The teen witnesses the expensive exclusive key equipment of the shelves, the many options she can make, but choosing wisely on the tools she used in the designs she pictured. Steven placed the tools on the table with KO sitting next to the teen. "So, you never watched my show, nor are you interested in it?" he asked, looking up to the teen with a sad tone. Do you really need to know the answer?" she replied. "He's not the same age as I am," Steven spoke. He still feels upset when any Cartoon Network fan doesn't acknowledge his show. Number 3 from Key and D took time to get over it, but not for KO. The teenager encountered so many stars of past and present, and none of them mind if she never watched those shows. But for sensitive people like KO feeling down, she never witnessed that type of depression upon arrival. As she took some of the tours, she gave KO the head models. "I was gonna pick the head models myself, but pick which head model you think I would prefer." With the head models displayed on the table in front of him, KO looked at the head models of his best friends. "What kind of request is that? Give me a character from your show that might make me interested in watching your show." "You don't want a head model from my show?" Steven wondered. "I can still use one of your accessories for the other models." As she put some of the pieces together, KO took time to look at the head models from his show. Steven and the team worked together to put the tools together while finding the letters to spell her name. "Spinell told me that you enjoy her in my movie," Steven said. "You sure you don't want her as your head model?" "I'm giving him a chance. We can still lose Spinell's gem though." KO remembered the times he watched Steven Universe even years before the higher-ups of Cartoon Network greenlit his show, and one of the most popular highlights were the LGBT representation involving Ruby and Sapphire. Then it got to him once he showed that type of representation in his show. "My friend Enid is in a relationship with Red Action," he spoke. Who's Red Action?" the teen asked, which KO showed the head model of Red Action herself. There were only 3 episodes centering around her, aside from the last episode. As KO gave her the head model, she liked the hair color of the character. "What does she do?" "She travels through time." "Really?" "Yes." "Are you interested in time travel?" Steven asked, to which the teen nodded. "Now that's something you're interested in KO's show. I'll consider watching those episodes when I get back to my hotel. Just understand, I can't guarantee I'll watch your show for real." KO then came up with another idea. "Maybe when we're done, do you want to meet Red Action yourself?" "Yeah, she's in the building right now," Steven added. "I guess I could," the teen spoke. "Trust me, you will make Enid happy once you know her from the first Red Action episode." KO smiled. "True, but it's her friend I'm thinking about." After spending 20 minutes, the teen, Steven, and KO finished designing the key. Upon exiting the room, they went back to the entrance of the cabin. When KO noticed Enid walking away from the vending machines after taking a picture, then the teen notices Red Action waiting in the middle with all the vending machines being used. "I want you to know, she's not her friend, she's actually her girlfriend," Steven replied. "Really?" the teen smiled. "Go ask them yourselves." As the teen heads her way, both Steven and KO looked at each other. "You sure she'll give my show a chance?" KO wondered. "If not, then she's not ready yet." The two then sat together on the bench. Keep in mind, KO, though there are still more people willing to give your show a chance. But what if the roles were reversed with a fan knowing my show but not yours? KO commented. I wouldn't feel depressed. I've been to many conventions. Yeah, I would have known how that feels. With the two stars sitting together, they're also thankful they arrived in time. They would have made the performance the highlight of the presentation, but they were ahead of making the fans satisfied on the first day here. Steven noticed it's close to getting dark outside. Over the last several nights before today, he and KO spent hours together for a surprise for anyone who's inside. I think it's time. Oh, I've been waiting all day for this. The two got off the bench while heading their way to the switches located in the living room. After receiving help from his friends, Steven can remember which button to press. When I say now, you press this red button, he pointed at it. No problem. As KO placed his hand on the red button, Steven placed his hand on the green button. Now, as KO pressed the red button, Steven pressed the green button. All the lights in the cabin turned off, but Christmas lights decorated from every single angle have turned on. Everyone took notice of their surroundings. The kids were mesmerized with the colors glowing around them. Steven and KO stood in the middle of the stage. Merry Christmas, they cheered, getting the attention from everyone inside. They all head back to the living room, witnessing the two stars together celebrating the happiest time of the year. We all know we don't celebrate Christmas in our shows since the holiday doesn't exist in them, Steven replied. But our shows aren't always about celebrating holidays. There may be themes, but our creators have different visions for what our shows should be like, KO added. Granted, we've read the fan mail for a holiday episode like Christmas, but the creators never take requests. Believe us, every time we show those to our bosses, they kept saying no. Nothing we can do about it, Enid commented. And don't get us started with those desperate fans watching a kissing episode during Valentine's Day, Red added. They may be loyal, but still a bit creepy, Lapis added. But now we have this. The gym and Power Guard Yule. Steven introduces the cabin itself. Since we're lucky enough, the Cartoon Network executives allow us to do this only when it's nighttime. If you want enough proof we want to celebrate Christmas, KO lifted his hands up. Everything around you is your answer, loud and proud. The crowd applauds from the two Cartoon Network stars. Even if they're not gonna be around for that long, they will always spread the news about this new edition of the cabins. Garnet and Carol went on stage picking up Steven and KO. I'm sure this cabin won't be going away anytime soon, Garnet smiled. I'm so proud of you, Carol said, hugging her son. Trust me, we're gonna do our best to keep this going, KO smiled. And the best out of all this, we can spend more time with each other as the best crossover any new fan had dreamed of, Steven replied. As they both got off the stage, they went back to do their thing, celebrating Christmas the way the fans wanted from them. And Steven never lies when he's willing to make anything a reality, all the while helping out KO when newcomers come his way for the first time.